Thank you. Chair Egley,
Here.
Vice Chair Peterson,
Here.
Commissioner Green,
Here.
Commissioner Hatch,
Here.
Commissioner Hours, not present today, Commissioner Parr,
Here.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Here.
and Commissioner Baumer.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. And with an open chair tonight, I'll go ahead and have alternate Commissioner Baumer appointed as a regular member for tonight's meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes, or are there any additions or changes to the minutes?
Commissioner Trujillo make a motion to approve the minutes from the last planning staff meeting, and that was from October 8th, 2025.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? No second. Second. Ray, can we take roll, please?
Thank you. Chair Egley,
Yes.
Vice Chair Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch,
Yes.
Commissioner Parr,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Baumer.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 7 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Ray. We have two items before us tonight, both public hearings. The first is case number 25MON-FPUD 00002 and 25MON-PFP 00002, a request for the approval of the final plan unit development and the final plat for Connexus filing number 4, a replat of Lot 2 in Connexus filing number 2 in the Connexus plan development. This is a public hearing, and we'll start with presentation by staff.
Actually, we will start with the applicant's presentation tonight. My apologies.
All right.
Good evening, Planning Commission. We appreciate your time. I'm Chelsea Green, Director of Entitlements with Meritage Homes. Do you need me to take my address for the record? Cool. All right, so I'm just going to give you a little bit about Meritage. It will sound familiar. I presented this during the sketch plan hearing as well. And then Andrea with NES will come up and talk more project specifics. And of course, we're available for questions. So Meritage Homes, about us, founded in 1985. Our headquarters is in Scottsdale, Arizona. At the end of 2024, we closed 13,976 homes. That makes us the 5th largest publicly traded home builder in the U.S. Some of these images here are our awards for our Energy Star efficient homes. We're one of the only public traded home builders that uses spray foam insulation, which helps with sound and also energy efficiencies in heating and cooling houses. Meritage Homes Colorado Division, we are in 22 different markets across the nation. Colorado here for us spans up to Windsor, Severance, Greeley, down to Colorado Springs. We currently build a 30-foot and 35-foot product here in Lorson Ranch, Meridian Ranch, Paintbrush Hills, and are really excited to be coming to the Monument Market. Overall, across the Front Range, we have 21 active communities in 2025, building townhomes, duplexes, or 25-foot to 50-foot single-family detached homes. So specifically for Meritage at Connexus, our market strategy is entry-level detached or entry-level to move down buyers, and we're specifically wanting to do that 25-foot front-loaded detached home to still provide a backyard, etc. We think there is a need here in the Monument submarket and buyers who would be interested in that product based off our market research. It would be, some of them would be 2-story, which would be that 32-foot max height. We're a production spec builder. So what that means is we build the homes and get them within 60 days of the CO and closing and offer our buyers a 60-day closing guarantee. So we compete more with resales than necessarily other builders who have design centers and residents are picking out their finishes. Our pricing plan is between the high 400s and low 500s for 1,500 to 1,900 square feet. The product is designed to have basements depending on the market needs. Those sometimes change to crawl spaces if we're trying to get our price a little lower. We're planning to use water usage of 0.25 acre feet per lot and have worked that through TriView. We'll be doing drought tolerant landscaping in the front yards and a maximum of 200 square feet of sod in the rear yards. That's enforced through the covenants, the design review covenants recorded on the property. Obviously, we always have water efficient faucets, toilets, showers, etc. And our exterior and street lighting is always dark sky compliant. So a little bit of what we have done here. Meritage Homes has been under contract with Shook Communities since October of 2024. We met with Save Monument representatives last December and had a neighborhood meeting December 19th. And then you guys saw us in February, I believe, for the sketch plan hearing. 15 people attended that neighborhood meeting, and we discussed information about our product type, who Meritage Home is, what type of fencing, parking, and trail access this community would have, as well as how the new Old Denver Road realignment functions. And with that, I will ask Andrea to come up here and run through the planning context for you all.
Thank you, Chelsea. Good evening, Planning Commission. Andrea Barlow, Principal with NES, here to talk about the project in a little bit more detail. So for background, a lot of what I presented here is similar to what was presented at the sketch plan, but I realize there are some new commissioners since that time, which was actually February 12th this year, when we presented the sketch plan. So for background, there is an approved preliminary plan, preliminary PUD plan on this property. This shows the intent of the project, which was to include the realignment of Old Denver Road. That brings Old Denver Road away from the existing neighborhood at Trails End and more into the site. And the intent of that was to take the activity from some of the more intense uses such as the industrial, commercial, and higher density residential in lots 1, 4A, 4B, and lot 3 that you see there away from the neighborhood, and provide a buffer with lot 2 to create some medium density residential development. So there is a transition in land use type. This plan went through significant public involvement. We had multiple meetings with the Save Monument Group. We had neighborhood meetings, and then we obviously had Planning Commission and Town Council meetings, which approved this plan and there was a lot of horse trading during that, a lot of trade-offs, changes to the plan, reduction in the industrial, increase in the multifamily residential, and so on and so forth. So this is the ultimate plan that was approved. The area we're talking about today is lot 2, which is the yellow area, the long, skinny site that you're looking at there. So we are going to be looking at the site as we are here with the north on the left-hand side of the plan and the south on the right-hand side of the plan. So it is oriented differently than true north, and the road across the top is I-25 to give you context, and then, as I said, Old Denver Road on the west side with the diversion through the site. So that's the background in that regard. And the medium density residential, which we're talking about today, approximately 23 acres, was identified at a density of between 6 to 10 units per acre. So bottom of the range 6, top of the range 10, up to potentially 232 units and a maximum height of 50 feet. So that was what was approved with the preliminary plan. So I want to go back to the sketch plan. As I noted, the sketch plan was approved by the Planning Commission on February 12th of this year. And with that, it was found to meet these criteria, which is compliance with the comprehensive plan, harmonious development and lot pattern that's compatible with the neighbourhood and community, ensures adequate light, air, parks, open space and other spaces for public use, and the sketch plan design provides adequate access to all lots and safe and efficient public improvements, utilities and community facilities, etc. So some of those criteria that are applicable to the sketch plan, which was already approved, also carry forward into this final PUD plan. So there will be a bit of repetition there. And this was the plan that was presented at that time. And this is the plan that was approved. So based on that 23-acre site, a total of 158 lots were proposed. And the allowed density, as I noted, was between 6 and 10. And what was proposed is at 6.89 dwelling units per acre, so at the lower end of that allowed density range. We're often criticised of coming in at the maximum of the density range that's allowed, but in this case, we are definitely at the lower end. And a couple of the things we heard from the Planning Commission were, when we went through the sketch plan, was please, you know, if this is what you're presenting, don't materially change it when you come to us with your final PUD plan. We often, the feeling amongst some planning commissioners was we'll say yes to this and then you come back with something different, but we've already said yes. So I want you to bear that in mind as we go through. I'll be talking about that a little bit more. And the other couple of other things that were key on the mind of planning commissioners was what the parks would look like, that there are some amenity areas for residents. I'll talk more about that. And also how the parking worked. I think particularly driveway parking. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So moving on to what we're actually proposing as part of this final PUD plan. What you see is pretty much the same as what was proposed. There have been some tweaks along the way, but not materially different. We are still proposing 158 lots in a very similar configuration, identical configuration really. Same density at 6.89 units per acre. Our maximum building height is 32 feet compared to the 50 feet allowed. We have parking provided. Each unit will have a 2-car garage as well as 2 driveway spaces per lot, and there will be 45 additional guest parking spaces throughout the development. And I'm going to compare here a little bit more directly what was approved in the preliminary plan versus what we're proposing now. With regard to the permitted use, the medium density residential was defined at the time of the preliminary plan as single family dwelling detached or attached, a 2-family dwelling and attached townhome or patio homes. So we are proposing detached single family residential, which again is the least intense use of those allowed uses in terms of potential density. So that's why we're at that lower end of the density. Maximum height, as noted, is 50 feet and we're proposing 32. We achieved the setbacks that were proposed for Old Denver Road and the landscape setbacks. And we are actually exceeding so the parking was just as the town code requires, and we are exceeding the parking required by town code. And with regard to open space, I want to provide some context, is that the overall Connexus plan that you saw with the preliminary plan included a number of large tracts which provided 27.5 acres of parks and open space in 3 tracts, and that is to be dedicated to the town. And per the public improvement agreement that has been signed with the final plat, that is meeting the parkland dedication requirements for the entire Connexus development. So the parkland dedication has been attributed to those tracks through the public improvement agreement, and it's been confirmed that it's meeting the parkland dedication requirement for this overall development. But there were comments made that, well, that those park tracks are on the other side of the new Old Denver Road. I'll talk a little bit about trail connectivity and also the parks we're proposing in this development. And we're providing, in addition to that, 3.1 acres of pocket parks in different locations throughout the site to offer different opportunities for passive and active recreation, including playground, gazebo trails, and just sod areas for people to hang out in, and trails to take dogs for walks and so on. So just zooming in a little bit, this is the northern portion of the development, as noted, a total of 3.1 acres. And I've just highlighted the areas that we've included in that, because some of the tracked areas just include those strips kind of along the regional trail. So along the Santa Fe Regional Trail, there is a tract which will be landscaped at the rear there of those properties and the side, and then obviously along Old Denver Road there will be a streetscape proposed there as well. So in this particular open area on the north end, there is a trail connection that will come down to the Santa Fe Regional Trail, and then the Regional Trail then provides a connection across, slightly cut off there, across the new Old Denver Road to connect to the remainder of the Regional Trail, which will take it up to the larger park area as part of the overall development. A little slow. Okay, this is more in the middle of the development. That shows a couple of park areas, a little bit more informal, passive recreation. And the reason for that is that area is actually a utility easement. So we can't put any structures in that area, but we have utilized it to the best we can to provide an amenity for residents, as well as providing additional parking for guests in that area. And then finally, on the south side of the development, that's where you have the more formalized play area. And again, connections, in the previous slide, there were connections to the Santa Fe Regional Trail as well in that location, where you can see a little bit more clearly the crossing that will connect to the existing Santa Fe Trail with a central median there for pedestrian refuge, basically. Next, I wanted to talk about the questions about parking. The standard driveway length is 20 feet. That is pretty much standard in all residential development. A lot of the town's residential zoning has a 20-foot setback, front setback. What we have here, though, is with the residential local street cross section that the town requires, is there is an extra 3.5 feet. It's not really shown very clearly, but the green area highlighted in the cross section shows an extra 3.5 feet in addition to the 20 feet up to the back of the sidewalk. So I think there was concerns expressed if people were walking on the sidewalk, would trucks be sticking out? So we've put a truck in there to show that it would probably go up to the 20 foot of the property line, but between the property line and the sidewalk within the right of way, there's an extra 3.5 feet, and that's shown a little bit more clearly in the lot typical on the side. Actually, this doesn't show correctly, the landscaping would actually extend and the driveway would extend up to the sidewalk. So it would just be in the right of way, and there is a requirement for the lot owner to maintain that area even though it's in the right of way. So that is showing that really, in reality, while the 20 foot is provided on the site, the actual driveway length will be 23.5 feet. And we provided these example elevations last time. There are a choice of a number of different elevations, 5 elevations with 3 different plans. So there is basically a choice of 15 alternatives. And as I think I mentioned later on in the slides, that the HOA or the covenants will ensure that you won't have the same elevation next to another. So there will be some variation throughout. And this just next slide just shows kind of a street scene of what the driveway looks like going up to the sidewalk, up to the pavement for the roadway, and the streetscaping that's proposed. And then we did look at the the density transition, even though, as I noted before, this medium density was designated intentionally to provide a buffer between the more intense uses of the multifamily, industrial, and now outdoor entertainment and commercial civic office uses on the east side of Old Denver Road, the realigned Old Denver Road, and the highway, between there and the highway. And the density, as I noted, is 6.89, and we have a mixture on the west side of some lower density at around just under 3 units per acre, but going up to almost 5 units per acre. So we feel that, just under 7 units per acre provides a good density transition, in addition to which you have the existing Old Denver Road, which is going to be renamed Crossfield Drive. And then you have the tract which is at least 50 feet wide at the narrowest point where the Santa Fe Trail is, and then this development. So we think there is an appropriate transition there in densities, and that's something that was accounted for in the preliminary plan approval. And then just going through the final PUD plan review criteria, there are quite a few of them, so they're on a couple of slides. I'm going to go through this briefly, but consistency with the preliminary PUD planner, as I've noted, the use is consistent with what was intended for the medium density. The density is within the range and at the lower end of the range. And we are, in all other respects, in terms of height and setbacks and so on, and open space in accordance with what was intended with the preliminary plan. Access, there will be 3 points of access directly off Old Denver Road, as noted at the north and south, and then in the center of the site. So there's adequate access onto the new realigned Old Denver Road. And I think I explained the multiple open space areas within the development, which are in addition to the dedicated parkland, which was provided through the Connexus largest development project. And one of the criteria is to have a variety of development and housing types, mix of land uses encouraged. So that was really addressed with the overall Connexus preliminary PUD plan, and this is just a portion of that. And we are proposing small lot, single family, which I think adds a different product type for this area, this part of Monument and Monument generally. And then obviously with the broader development, there is a mix of other uses, higher density residential, as well as some industrial commercial uses and so on. Privacy for individuals, we've looked at, and Chelsea mentioned this, that there will be a minimum 15-foot rear yard setback to provide an open space, private open space, which will have a sod area, but that's been kept to minimum requirements to meet low water usage. And there will be standard 5-foot side setbacks between for the lots, so 10 foot between the buildings, which is a standard requirement for residential zoning. And we also have buffers to Old Denver Road and to Santa Fe Trail that will be landscaped as well. And then building design, we presented the elevations earlier, and as I noted, 5 different models with 3 architectural designs, providing a choice of 15 varying architectural elevations, all of which kind of are cohesive and will match the materials, colors and materials used in the subdivision to the west. So they're going to be kind of earth tones and nothing that will stand out as being different. And the community will be controlled by the CC&Rs enforced by the Connexus Metropolitan District. Landscaping, goal is to be xeric landscaping. We've used low water use design and plantings, in addition to providing lots of different dispersed areas throughout the development to provide different opportunities for landscaping and open space that blends in with the surroundings. more than adequate off-street parking, as noted, and it fits in with the overall surrounding land use in terms of the density and that transition of uses that was anticipated with the preliminary PUD plan, and the realignment of Old Denver Road provides the access. Stormwater detention is actually provided across the street on the south side of the main Connexus development that services the southern portion of the entire property, and all utilities are available to the property. Water and sanitary sewer will be provided by TriView. MVEA will provide electric service, and Black Hills will provide gas. And with that, here are what we anticipate as some of the things that have happened already and what the next steps are. So the design of and construction of New Denver Road will begin shortly, and we will be looking at building the on-site improvements during the first part of 2026 and completing them in the third quarter. And the new Old Denver Road, bit confusing there, New Old Denver Road will hopefully be completed by the end of next year. And the first home closing is anticipated in 2027. And then the construction period is looking to be a couple of years. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you.
Myself or Chelsea. So.
All right, thank you. Does town staff have anything to add at this point?
Yes, please, one moment. Thank you. My apologies. With that thorough presentation from the applicant, we'll just continue with the applicant provided a final drainage report for the project. The report was prepared by JR Engineering, dated October 2025, concluded that the stormwater drainage improvements would provide adequate protection to the site without adverse impacts, vetted by our contracted town engineer, Jacobs Engineering. Likewise, the applicant provided a traffic memorandum prepared by LSC Transportation Consultants, dated April 4th, 2025, also concluded that the proposed development is expected to not have a negative impact on traffic operations for the surrounding roadway network, also vetted by contracted town engineer, Jacobs Engineering. With that, we have the proposed finding of fact from town staff. The proposed use meets the intent of the comprehensive plan designation for the property. The final PUD is consistent with the approved preliminary PUD. On-site circulation and access are designed for the anticipated type of pedestrian and vehicular traffic generated. Building design in terms of orientation, spacing, materials, exterior color, and texture, storage and lighting result in a quality architectural design. Landscaping is quality design that enhances the site and is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. Adequate off-street parking, both standard and ADA accessible, is provided. And lastly, the final PUD fits within the context of the planned land use pattern and roadway and utility systems of the larger surrounding area. With that, town's staff's recommended action is a motion to make a recommendation to approve the final plat for Connexus filing number 4, a replat of Lot 2 and Connexus filing number 2 of the Connexus plan development, and the final plan unit development as supported by the attached finding of fact and described by the documents attached in your staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. All right, we'll move on to the open public hearing. For those in the room who wish to comment on this particular application, please raise your hand and come on up to the podium. I ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please sign in with your name and address at the podium. Anyone wishing to make a public comment? Seeing no one in the room, is there anyone online, Ray, that has raised their hand?
At this time, I don't see anyone online who has raised their hand to speak.
All right, seeing no interest in making any comments from the public, we'll go ahead and close the portion of this public hearing and move on to questions and comments from commissioners. Commissioner Green.
I have a question for someone. It's about lot sizes.
Both go up and see who can give the best answer.
What is the smallest lot size?
I think all of the lot sizes are 35 by 90 or 95.
35 by 90.
That's the smallest lot.
Okay, I need a computer. Sorry. Okay. But I had read, I thought in our staff report that they went down to 2,000 and something, but you think the smallest one is 3,100? It's a little bit smaller than I get if I take an acre and take off 20% and then, divide it by lots. So are some of the lots going to be owned by a homeowners association? Like when I say the lots in your site plan, is the whole lot going to be owned by the person that buys?
Correct.
That
It's fee
house.
simple lots, so they'll own the real property of the lot. The Metro District will own all the tract areas.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Next question, Commissioner Trujillo, looking at traffic, I noticed inside there, this question is delivered to staff primarily first. Does the April 2025 memo account for approved projects along Old Denver Road, including Santa Fe Business Park and Terraza Baja? Does that include that in that memo?
It's the most up-to-date information that we had when this was applied for. It'd be difficult to rewrite the memo as each project down towards Terraza Baja came in. It does address the traffic that was anticipated through the Connexus development, including this the development that's specifically being proposed to you tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question, has the town completed any corridor-wide analysis to validate the assumption of the memo?
We're in the process of reviewing our comprehensive plan. We are looking at traffic and traffic impacts, but we see no reason to challenge the memo that's being presented to you tonight.
Perfect. Does the memo consider school-related peak hour movements generated by 158 single-family units?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Has any pedestrian bike conflict analysis been completed specifically for the Santa Fe Trail connections?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Has any pedestrian or bike conflict analysis been completed, especially for the Santa Fe Trail connections?
We worked specifically with the county and the developer to get approval for those connections through the Santa Fe Trail, including the 2 crosswalks that'll be created by the realignment of the road. So again, I would believe that would be part of that consideration, and that went before county board and town council for approval.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm going to shift over to the applicant. Was a new turning movement count conducted in 2025, or were older numbers reused?
Just switch myself off. The traffic memo is based on the original traffic report, and it seeks to address whether the current proposal is consistent with the assumptions made in the original traffic report, which was the basis for the approval of the preliminary PUD plan. So all the uses that were considered on the preliminary PUD plan were incorporated in the original traffic report. It looks at existing traffic. It also projects forward to 2045 with proposed traffic, not just from this development, but from all the developments that have been approved and are anticipated in the broader area. So to your earlier question, that would include Santa Fe Park, that would include Falcon Commerce Center, that would include Forest Lakes, Willow Springs, everything in the surrounding area is incorporated in those long-term projections. So when you come with the individual developments, there is a traffic memo provided, which is consistent with what we've done on other projects and a consistent approach elsewhere, in that the traffic memo says, is this consistent with the assumptions that were made in the original traffic study?
So I'm going to ask you this question. Why was a memorandum used instead of an actual traffic impact study with 158 actual homes that are going inside there?
Because the original traffic report that was done with the preliminary plan was based on the maximum density of 10 units per acre, which was 232 dwelling units. So with this plan for 158, which is at the lower end of the proposed density, the conclusion of the traffic memo is that this development is consistent with the traffic assumptions made in the original report, in that it's not going to increase traffic beyond the assumptions in the original report, because it's actually less dense than the assumptions that were made. And that's going to be a consistent approach for all the other lots as they come forward within Connexus. Same approach that is proposed in Falcon Commerce Centre each time. We've proposed a traffic memo based on the original master traffic impact assessment, upon which all the assumptions are made about what road improvements are needed.
And I completely agree with you and I completely understand, but here's the problem. Originally, when we looked at Connexus, it was a business campus area. Now we're putting in residential. Now, my question is because now we're putting in 158 units in there, and then we're putting in density further up there in lot 1. Those school buses, those individual entities that are bringing in different traffic entities on Old Denver Highway to go to the schools and things along that lines, was that accounted inside there?
So the traffic throughout the day is considered. So you look at your daily averages, and the traffic studies look at the AM and PM peak hours, because that's when the majority of traffic is on the road. School traffic doesn't tend to compete with those AM and PM peak hours. A little bit sometime in the morning, but not so much in the evening. And so they are incorporated in that background traffic as a matter of fact. And we don't look specifically at school generated traffic when we're looking at the impacts of a new development, because we're focused very much on the overall daily traffic and then those AM and PM peaks. And to the point you said initially, we originally considered a business campus here. That is what the designation on the comprehensive plan is, which completely ignored the fact that this was already zoned for industrial at that time. And since then, we have an approved preliminary PUD plan, which is what I presented earlier, which shows the currently mixed range of uses, which included medium density residential. That came through this planning commission and the town council and was approved. And what we're proposing now is actually less dense and less intense than was allowed on that preliminary PUD plan.
I'm not debating that. What I'm questioning is the actual traffic aspect. Why didn't, instead of, we used a memo, a 2025 traffic memo, instead of doing a traffic impact study. I understand what you're saying. Would a traffic impact study associated with buses and families that will have kids that will be using that Old Denver Highway impact that area? I don't think I don't think the memo addresses that. I don't know that to be true. I didn't read it. But my concern is that those individuals that buy those 158 units, that bus that may be on Old Denver Highway in peak hours, going to school, things along that lines, may cause quite a bit of congestion on that Old Denver Highway. That brings some concern, especially during the winter months, things along that lines, to I'm sure the residents that potentially buy those 158 units. I don't know if that's been done or looked at. I don't know if we're looking at ADA across the roadways. I mean, there's a lot of different things here when it comes to traffic, and I'm sure you're looking at it, but the memo looked at it from a holistic aspect. I'm asking if there's a traffic impact study that was generated specifically for Lot 2 with 158 units. Was that done?
Yes and no. So yes, it was accounted for in the master traffic study for the overall Connexus development. And then the traffic memo then reviewed this development against what was assumed in that traffic study for this lot and concluded that it was within the parameters of the existing traffic impact study, which has been approved as part of the preliminary PUD plan. Traffic studies do not look at individual types of traffic, such as school buses. School buses will come into the site to service the units within that development. So they will turn off Old Denver Road, come through the development, pick up the school kids and go back onto Old Denver Road. The school district reviews these plans. The traffic report is reviewed, but we don't get into the minutiae of what will the impact on school buses be? If the school district had a concern, they would raise it and say we need specific provisions. We've had them say to us before, we need a turning area for school buses. That's not needed with this development because they can come in one end and out the other. So it's not within the parameters or the scope of a traffic study to look in detail at school buses. And that would not be a normal function of a traffic study. It is not something that the town asks us to review, and it is not something that is impacting the peak hour time periods that are reviewed with traffic studies.
I have no other questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Peterson.
So I guess to clarify the traffic piece, master traffic study counted for 10 Ds per acre. So with this, we're providing much less Ds per acre and less potential traffic
Absolutely, yes.
congestion on that road.
Yeah.
And Old Denver Road is size based on that master TIS. And
So
was adequate for a higher density in this area.
exactly. I mean, that's why the design of the new realigned Old Denver Road has been approved as is to accommodate that anticipated traffic from this development, as well as the existing background traffic and the projected traffic to 2045. So it's been designed to the existing Old Denver Road is already well under capacity for what it's designed for, and this has been designed to accommodate much more traffic. And with the existing Old Denver Road staying as a local road to service the existing neighborhood.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. With the trail connections to Santa Fe, is that going to be the pieces outside of the property boundary? Are those owned and maintained by the county?
Yes, so we'll have to probably come to an agreement with the county to the little connecting pieces from the edge of the property boundary to the trail. I think we will have to come to some agreement with the county on who will maintain those.
Okay, thanks. For the new trail crossings across the new Old Denver Road, are those going to be a lighted crossing sign, or
There are going to be signs and flashing lights, and all the requirements, the striping, the pedestrian refuge, the signage has all been through an extensive review with the county parks department who own the Santa Fe Trail. And that was done during the initial process for the preliminary PUD plan and then refined through the construction document process for the Old Denver Road construction. So those details have been approved by the body that maintains and owns the trail.
Okay, sounds good. I think those are the only questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Peterson. Commissioner Parr.
Yes, I have one question. Hold on a second.
Questions. Sorry.
Okay.
That's all.
Just one question on the landscaping around the house. Do you do that landscaping, or is that the homeowner's responsibility?
Meritage Homes will install all the front and side yard landscaping. We'll also be installing the rear fencing and wing fencing. So we fence the lot, and then the property owner will submit a design review request to get approved for what they want to design their rear yard to be.
And that request goes to who?
It'll go through the Metro District, who will be the body that enforces and operates the covenants for the community.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bauer.
I have a few questions. So first, in terms of feet, what is the buffer that you'd stated that was going to be between Santa Fe Trails and the back of the development? Like how many feet from Santa Fe Trail to the back of?
I believe we have a 20-foot setback landscaped area between the edge of the parcel within which the Santa Fe Trail sits. That is a 50-foot wide parcel, so the trail lies generally in the middle of that. As you can see here, it does widen towards the edge, but yeah. So that green buffer that you can see at the back of or at the side of some of the lots on the west side is around 20 feet.
And that will be a 6-foot wall, right? On the back of the planned unit development, the housings are going to have 6 feet of,
They will have a fence, yes, a 6-foot fence.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
at the back of the lot, not along the property bound, the overall property boundary, along the tract.
Okay, that's the first question. Now back to the traffic memo. I did read the analysis and like it stated, it's a snapshot in time. It is a short-term perspective. It only applies to the 158 housing units. And it states that it would not have a negative impact. My question is, on what criteria do you base negative versus?
I'll answer and Andrew step in on so what we take a look at to make sure that the roads are designed properly, that we're not providing more traffic for those roads and other traffic control systems that are put in place for the realigned Old Denver Road. It was designed for a higher density development, which is why we did not require a new study to be conducted. That it was really just a proof that the original study was still intact and that the development fit within the parameters of that. Our engineer reviews that traffic. We have a traffic engineer who is part of Jacobs Engineering, reviews that traffic, the initial traffic impact study, as well as the memo to make sure that it's still appropriately or concludes that there's not going to be a negative impact or cause our intersections and our roads not to function properly. And so that's where what we concluded in our report.
Well, what is the actual criteria is?
So I'll answer that in the best way I can. So traffic impact studies are based on level of service. So you look at the level of service of the various intersections in the area to see what the additional traffic will result in terms of the length of time you have to wait at an intersection. If it's a T stop sign controlled intersection, if that becomes too long, then there may be recommendations to say, well, you may need to make improvements at the intersection. There could be suggestions of adding traffic signals or different turn lanes or what have you. But none of those overall recommendations were addressed in the broader traffic study when the design of Old Denver Road, the realignment of Old Denver Road was approved. And there are no additional impacts from this development that would warrant any of those additional improvements because the level of service falls within the appropriate ranges. And as noted, that this is actually less dense and less traffic than was originally anticipated through the design of Old Denver Road. So it's not surprising that the conclusion is that there would be no impact because it's actually reducing the traffic in the area from what the new Old Denver Road was designed for.
Okay, I want to dovetail a little bit. So first, the traffic control analysis, like when I look at that map and I look at both the north and the south, what are my traffic control measures going to be? Are they going to be a stop sign? Is it going to be a roundabout? Like who are we putting the burden on? Are we putting the burden on the people that are going onto the new Old Denver Road, or is that burden going to be felt by the people who currently exist?
Yes,
west?
There will be stop signs at the intersections of what I would call Crossfield Drive is the new existing Old Denver Road, which is going to be renamed. There will be stop signs. The new Old Denver Road will have the priority movement because that's now going to be the major collector going through the area. So to take the traffic away from the existing neighborhood. So all the traffic that's currently on Old Denver Road is going to be moved onto the new Old Denver Road, moved away from the neighborhood. So all they're going to have on that Crossfield Drive is local traffic that's going into their neighborhood. And therefore, the priority movement will be on the new realigned Old Denver Road, and there will be stop signs at those intersections. And there's also stop signs on Old Denver Road because of the trail crossings.
So by your argument, you just stated that this new development's going to take priority because there's going to be more traffic than the traffic that's coming out on the west from that housing.
I think we're kind of these are good questions, but this is out scope of the actual project. The realignment's been put in place and is under construction today. The realignment of the road was to take the traffic away from the existing residents to the west on the west side of Old Denver Road. It increased the the new road that's being put in is actually the way we would like to see the old Denver Road built all the way to the south as we move forward with other development. Crossfield Drive will be a local street. You're not going to go down Crossfield Drive unless you're trying to go into those neighborhoods. So it's going to become a much quieter street. And that's why when Andrea said that it's going to, that Old Denver Road's going to take priorities, because we are taking all that traffic away from those from the residents who are out there today, and moving it through this new community, which is going to have a whole bunch of different uses in it. This is not the only one. I spoke a bit kind of out of scope because really the focus here is this residential development, which has its own now a local street within. It's got 2 driveways that are established and are provided in a distance safe away from these new intersections or new redirected points. Stop signs have been placed in appropriate locations. So it's actually going to act like a sufficient contained residential neighborhood, safe for children and families to be inside. There's not going to be traffic going through there. And when they do come out, the intersections have been placed on New Old Denver Road in a way so that it's safe to come out and there's actually been consideration with how those driveways the road exits are aligned with future driveways on the other side of that road. So it's all been very well engineered. You're just not getting to see the whole picture right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to echo on what Commissioner Trujillo said. Is like when you look at the trip generation report of what's coming in and out of that new development, you got 158 houses, but you're saying that, okay, at peak hours in the morning, 158 houses, that you only expect 83 vehicles to exit the site. To me, these houses, most people have 2 cars, most people work, most people are going to school. That seems like a very inaccurate number or a
It's
faulty assumption.
It's based on a traffic analysis that's much broader than just at this location. We know how many people tend to come and go out of a neighborhood of this size, and a traffic engineer would be able to speak to that. It seems low, but it's actually pretty.
So I can add that the trip generation rates are pretty standardized for single family development, and they're based on the International Transportation Engineers manual that they produce. They survey many developments and have trip generation rates for any type of use you can think of. Single family residential is a very well-known quantity, and it's been researched a lot, and the peak hours, the generation in the peak hours is pretty standardized as well. So this is not something that our traffic engineer has just dreamt up. It is based on well-established data.
Is that
That every
cookie cutter to like a small town like ours, or does it apply to, it seems very cookie cutter to just throw the numbers in there. Are we prepared to mitigate this somehow should it create a negative impact?
Well, there's much more to come. So this is the reason we allowed for a memo in this case is because we weren't concerned, and our engineer wasn't concerned that this project was going to be the linchpin to cause all concern. If a project does come like that before us, we will require additional analysis and in addition, and we will challenge that analysis if need be. This is not one of those projects. This is actually it feels cookie cutter because it's been studied across the country. We know what the numbers are for a single family development of this type. So I think what I'd like to be able to is take a note of your concern of this, and then we will make sure that we address those further. And I will make a bigger point of explaining why it was a memo versus a full-blown traffic study. Other members on the Plan Commission know that I have come before you with what had been requested as to be just a memo cover to the original traffic study, but I required a restart or a new traffic study, and I will continue to do that if there's a greater impact. This is not one of those projects. This is actually small. It's not going to. New Old Denver Road, or I can't wait to stop calling it New Old Denver Road. Old Denver Road realigned is actually being improved, and off-site improvements as well to accommodate not just this small development, but the other developments such as Lost Island entertainment or miniature golf, And there's other multifamily development that's going to be occurring here. We're going to have many times to take a look at that and many times to challenge a new traffic study if warranted. But this one here, I didn't want to put the expense or burden on these homes and these new homeowners to prove something that we already had an answer for. And I won't come to their defense very often, so I apologize if I sound like I'm doing that.
No, I have nothing further. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hatch.
Okay, I have some simple questions. Where will the mailboxes be?
We work with the post office to design mailbox kiosks, and they'll be located in those tracked areas, the passive areas in the middle and north and south end.
Okay, all right. And buried utilities, correct?
Correct. We're working with MVEA and Black Hills for electric and gas.
And those post office boxes, you said you're working with the post office, of course, but would they be near those intersections where the school buses will be?
They would be at the, like, near the park area
The
at the
dead
south
center?
end
Or
and
the
in the
south?
center
Okay. All
and
right,
then at
thank
the
you.
south end.
That's all I had.
Thank you. Anything else, Commissioner Green?
Again, what is the total acreage of this parcel? I thought I saw 62 and
It's 29 acres, 28
Twen-
acres,
23,
23,
in
sorry.
fact, 22.9 acres.
23 acres. And you say the lots are 31 times 90.
35 by 90 or 95.
Sorry, keep.
Commissioner, the lots are between 3,100 square feet, approximately down to 2,852, not approximately. So those are the from the larger range to the smaller range.
Remembered from
Yeah.
that. Those are,
Is that incorrect?
Yeah, I believe our smallest lot, I'm pretty sure our smallest lot is 35 by 90 to meet all those density requirements.
Okay.
Did we tweak any of them?
I don't think we did.
35 by.
Okay, that's how our analysis came up with, but we can certainly double check.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, if you had gone to 10 acres or 10 per acre, you would, be doing duplexes or?
It would probably be
family?
duplexes or townhomes to get that density. That's very much a townhome density, 10 units per acre. So there would be more attached units.
Right. This is there any zone district in this town that has, that allows a lot size that small? Or is that something you could only get in a PUD? Because I've used this example before, but in Monument, in a mobile home park, you need a 4,000 square foot lot.
So this is a planned unit development, and that's typically how we have handled that in other locations in this community. And it allows for again, in the Connexus development as an example, it allows for us to have a large park donation at the north end, and then still accommodates different type of housing and different uses in the same place. So
that was the other thing, is that I don't see a lot of green space, or I know you have a couple of, looks like pocket parks, but
We have 3.1 acres of green space.
okay, and are you kind of putting this in, thinking there are going to be larger parks outside the parcel as well?
Yes, I think I explained that there are, in the tracks on the north end and south end of the overall Connexus development, there are larger park areas, 27.5 acres of parkland that will be dedicated to the town. And that meets the parkland dedication requirement for the overall Connexus development per the public improvement agreement.
And these homes are what, typically 3-bedroom, 3-bath?
3 to 4 bedroom, 2.5 to 3 bath. We'll have 5 different plans. The smallest being 1,500 square feet is 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath. And as you move up to the largest, which is 1,900 square feet, you get a 4th bedroom.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions, looking at the project. It looks like there's a couple of trails. I assume it'll be a concrete type trail that connects to the Santa Fe Trail. Is that
Correct.
correct? What's the, is that a paved trail, and what's the width of that trail?
5 feet.
5 feet. I think that's an inadequate size if we're going to connect to a Santa Fe Trail that's already about 10 feet width. I also noticed that interior, you have a spot in the center that's designated as reserved parking. Your signs indicate reserved parking. I'm wondering who's that reserved for?
The only signs that are in our PUD are parking for that reserved ADA parking spaces.
Okay.
The rest of the parking is not reserved for, it's available for
So are you
guests.
saying that those spaces in the center of the development, those are the 45 public spaces that you have?
There's some in the center and there's some at each end of the development as well.
So if someone is 3 or 4, 6 houses down from that, their visitors park in that space and walk that distance? That's what you're
Well, they can, but they can also park on the street. There is on-street parking all along that primary street through the development. The opportunities for parking are going to be a bit limited where there are driveways fronting that road, but there are many opportunities on the west and east side where there are units sideways on. It's a bit difficult to tell here, but where there are units that are siding onto that road where there'll be plenty of opportunity for parking.
Well, you mentioned that they could park on the street. What's the setback between between homes that are side by side?
5 feet each side, so 10 feet in total.
10 feet. So
And then the driveway doesn't take up all the frontage of the building.
I won't be able to park my 20-foot truck there then,
I don't
blocking half of the driveway on either side.
know. The side setback is 5 feet between the buildings. There is 20 feet plus 3.5 feet from the front of the garage to the sidewalk.
I
So
guess I
there's
didn't explain that right. So
Yeah, I was
if
not.
if I park on the street,
Yes, that's what I just mentioned, that if there are, get a closer up, yeah. So this is the south end of the development. So where you have the lots that front onto Blueberry Way is our main street, there is probably limited opportunity, but you can see how the driveways are staggered in that there is probably about 20 feet there for parking. But the bigger opportunity for parking is where the units on the north side, you can see, are sideways on to that road, and there is no driveway access. So there is parking available there. If you can go back one, which continues along the west side, and then on the east side, and on the west side it switches to the other side of the road. And if you do the next slide, and then continues further to the north of the development. So there are multiple opportunities to have guest parking both within the parking spaces at the north end, south end, and in the center, as well as along the street for the majority of that internal street, as well as the lots themselves having 2-car garages and 2-car driveways.
yeah, I'm not sure of the slide. Maybe it's the density comparison slide. I'm not sure if that's it, or if there's a different slide that showed the, maybe it showed the frontage of the homes.
Yes,
with
it
the
was,
driveways, an
I
example,
think
if you
it
could
was
pull
a
that
slide
up.
after this. Yeah, that one. Is that the one you're talking about?
There's another one that actually, you showed a representation
Oh,
of the actual front of the homes with
I
some
think that's
landscaping in front.
next.
The next
It's a
one.
couple, the next slide, and next one, that one, yes.
There we go. I guess what I'm saying is, are you telling me that the portion between, on the left-hand side here, between right above the A on elevation A and the next beginning of the next driveway, that's going to be 20 feet that I can park my truck?
I think in some scenarios it might be 20 feet, but as I was saying, the more the parkable area of the street is where the units are sideways on. to the street, which is in multiple places along that street. So
I-
no, I wouldn't expect people to be regularly parking on the side of the street where the driveways are, but on the opposite side of the street, in most cases, there will be units that are sideways on where parking is available.
Yeah, I guess that's my point, is that that's not viable. But anyway, let's move on to this.
That I would agree that where the driveways are fronting the road, it's not really viable to park. But across the street, where you've got the no driveways fronting the road, and you've got the side elevation of the homes, two side elevations of homes, there's plenty of opportunity there to park. Plus, we have the 45 parking spaces for guests. Plus, we have 2-car driveways for guests. And we meet the only requirement in the code of 2 cars per unit in the garage parking.
What's the depth of your garage?
20 feet.
Okay.
I actually think it's like 22 feet.
And make sure I'm within the scope here, the portion of the existing Old Denver Road, is there a portion of that that's going to be abandoned?
Portion of it,
In other words, the north and south end.
at the north,
So that the only way that the people, the residents that currently live on the west side of Old Denver Road, they won't be able to, the way that one of the drawings showed that they could take Crossfield Drive and connect directly to Old Denver Road, the existing Old Denver Road. I just wondered if they're going to have to go up to the intersection with the new Old Denver Road.
so depending on, let's assume we're driving south on Old Denver Road, what you're used to right now is driving straight and then turning right into your neighborhood. What this will do is this road will cause, with the reconfiguration, you'll be caused to swing and follow the Old Denver Road in its reconfiguration to the east. Or at the stop sign, you'll be able to turn and go into Crossfield Drive, which is now a local street, and which will act the same as it does today, except no one will be driving on it except for those who live in there. So it'll be a much quieter street, and actually, as a 2-lane rural road, that would be appropriate for those neighborhoods now. But and then coming north, they'll have the same type of thing. You're either going to follow the reconfigured road, or you're going to be turning left onto Crossfield and going north, and then entering your community from there.
Yeah, and I think this is a slide here, Dan. If you look up in the upper right-hand corner here where the new Denver Road connects to Crossfield Drive, there's a segment there that looks like
I think to answer your question, yes, that section will be abandoned
Okay.
and will be re-landscaped and
Okay, great.
vegetated.
all right.
So
thank
there
you.
will be no ability to just go straight there and merge onto the new Old Denver Road. The only option will be to go up to the stop controlled intersection at that point. And I will point out that during this process with the preliminary plan, these changes were made to Old Denver Road with the input from the community to the west, and in particular the neighbourhood meeting we had back in December last year. That was probably one of the main areas of discussion, was how those intersections were going to function. And the fact that there's been no opposition during this process, there's nobody here to express concern about this project, suggests to me that the neighbourhood is satisfied with what's been proposed. And it is going to significantly improve the environment for them from a traffic perspective by moving the busier traffic away from their neighbourhood and just having local traffic on Crossfield Drive, which is now the current alignment of Old Denver Road.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? All right. We'll go ahead and move to the chair will accept a motion. Before we do that, I'd just like to say that I think the one condition that I would like to place on this would be that the trail connectivity from Santa Fe Trail be widened from 5 feet to 10 feet. But that's my personal vision for that. And that would be the only condition that I would place on the development. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. A motion to make a recommendation to approve the final planned unit development and the final plat for Connexus filing. Do I have the right one here?
Yes.
4.
Yes.
A replat of Lot 2 and Connexus filing 2 of the Connexus plan development as supported by the attached findings with the following condition that the trail, help me out.
Yeah, the trail at the center and at the north end, connecting from Old Santa Fe trails to the development be 10 feet and paved.
Okay, that the where the Santa Fe Trail connects at the north and south end, it be paved and 10 feet wide.
On the trail piece, if I can make a comment
Sure.
or suggestion. The 10 feet is typically more like a regional trail size,
Mhm.
which coming through the development would not be considered regional. If we're thinking 5 feet is not enough, 6 feet would be, maybe something more than 5 feet, but not 10 feet. You're getting into that regional trail width.
Mhm.
Would 6 feet be more amenable coming into a private development? So Santa Fe Trail is a much larger trail system. This trail system is coming through a private development, which would seem oversized for something like this to me. Be a 6 foot be more accommodating for strollers and stuff like that, but not go to the large 10 foot coming through. a
I
small
probably
area.
wouldn't be willing to go down to 6 feet. I may be willing to compromise at 8.
May I ask? May I say?
Sure.
The problem that I see with that is that it invites people from the trail up into the neighborhood who may not be understanding that that is a private neighborhood. And that's why I could see a 5 or 6 foot for 2 strollers passing from the neighborhood, but you don't want to invite the walker up into someone's private area.
Yeah,
And
your
I think that
standard-
if you do the 10, you might be confusing that walker who might just assume, oh, I can walk up into
your
that.
standard
That's all.
sidewalk width.
That's
in
just
your
my
road
opinion.
Is 5 feet. So it wouldn't be any different than your local road on Beacon Light or anything. That's a 5 foot walk.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and but this is public to the town of Monument. It's not. This isn't a gated community, if I understand that correct.
It is a standard, to me, I agree, it's a standard walkway
I
for
guess
a
my other concern is
neighborhood.
at some point, there's going to be some retail to the northeast of this development. And it would be nice that folks that are coming up the Santa Fe Trail have some accessibility with the bike to run through that development into that. Yes.
Which that would be provided crossing Old Denver Road. If that were the case, they'd have to come through the private residential
Mhm.
development to access versus, that would be almost a worse case, worse of a scenario to target everybody come through everybody's private development in order to access Santa Fe Trail.
Sure.
It'd be, this location would be the better location. But that's my opinion as far as that's a pretty large sidewalk coming through that just to be able to access this little piece throughout through there. And there's 3 locations. It's not just one location.
Sure. I understand that. Dan.
It's similar to our conversation in October. There's a hierarchy, and I think that's what Commissioner Peterson was talking about. There's a hierarchy in trails. And there's actually quite a amount of design work in the new intersection or where the Old Denver Road crosses Santa Fe Trail. What you'll find there is some portion of the trail, and I can't remember if it was 10 or 15 feet leading up to the curb will be concrete at both sides of the Old Denver Road. The width will be the same as it is today, but it'll be concrete because we wanted it because of the hierarchy of how Old Denver Road is or Santa Fe Trail is coming through. We want to make sure it's safe at the crosswalk for Old Denver Road and then in the other direction. These intersections or these points that we're talking about right now are quite different. It's really access for those 158 homeowners to be able to come out and utilize the Santa Fe Trail back and forth. But we and I think the county would agree that we want anybody who's going into the Connexus development itself is using either one of the two major crosswalks or entrances to the south of this development and to the north. The idea of widening it isn't. I'm not disagreeing with it, but going to a 10 it's actually inviting people who are on the Santa Fe Trail to actually turn into a subdivision, and they're not going to get where they want to go. They're going to just find themselves in a neighborhood. So I would encourage some form of hierarchy where we're showing there's a 10-foot wide Santa Fe Trail, reducing it down to a smaller width, and you guys can choose whether it's 6 or 8 feet, or and make that recommendation to. Well, actually see if they agree to it and then make that recommendation to council. But these are great. These are the kind of conversations I like, and I hope that we have more of these during our comprehensive plan discussion.
So I think 8 feet's even large too, because is it a 5-foot walk on Old Denver Road?
I don't remember, Eric, do you recall what Old Denver Road is going to have a 5-foot sidewalk, or is it going to be wider? I don't recall. Okay.
The only point I'm making is if that's going to be the largest walk in this whole area, that seems a little out of place, especially if it's just it's a third of the development that would be accessing it through this area possibly. So it would seem a little excessive.
Okay.
So I might be wide enough to be able to.
Sure.
Okay, I would like to amend my motion to make those connections 6 foot in width and paved.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Right?
Thank you, Chair Egley,
Yes.
Vice Chair Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
I'd like to comment before my vote that, as a commission, we certainly should not and cannot vote on the price point of a product, but $500,000, 1,500 square foot home on a lot that is not even 3,000 square feet does not seem right to me. And I really blame our PUD ordinance that we are willing to give without asking for too much in return. So I'm voting yes on this because I don't see anything in our land use ordinance that would prevent me to do otherwise. But I think it's a shame.
Thank you. Commissioner Hatch,
Yes.
Commissioner Parr,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
I too am going to make a comment before I make my vote. In the future, I would ask the Planning Commission to definitely look at that traffic impact survey, possibly looking at it. I understand the aspect of looking at everything from a holistic approach, but as we start putting in 158 units and then that larger development coming up, and on there with the commercial vehicles, the semis, those are things that are not, they may have looked at it, but it was very generalized. I think the impact down the future may have an impact on this community, and we're not looking at that yet, but I guarantee you those individuals that are paying $500,000 for a 3,000 square foot lot are probably going to be upset with the town at some point. So I'm just trying to get ahead of that as quick as possible. My recommendation is yes, and thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Commissioner Balmer. Thank you. Motion passes 7 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you. We'll move on to the second item on the agenda. It's case number 25MON-FPU D00003, a request for the approval of the final plan unit development for Lot 2, Terrazzo Baja Commercial Subdivision, located at the northeast corner of Terrazzo Drive and La Campana Drive. This is a public hearing, and so we have a presentation by staff. Is that correct, Ray?
My apologies. I forgot to switch the order of the
Okay.
presentations. It'll be the
We'll have a
applicant first.
presentation by the applicant.
Yes, sorry about that.
Can I ask a question? Did we ask did everyone get to vote? I just want to make sure Commissioner Peterson, did you get to vote at the last one?
Yeah.
You did? Okay, then I didn't hear it. It went, so sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to scare Ray. It worked.
You made me think I.
One moment. One moment while I pull the slide. Sorry.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. Jason Allwine with NES here representing the Santa Fe Business Park, Lot 2, Terrazzo, Baja. It's the name of the plat filing, final PUD plan. I'm representing Proterra Properties, who will be the future developer for this. Again, my name is Jason Allwine with NES. The site is located northwest of Baptist Road, or sorry, northeast of Baptist Road and Old Denver Road, northwest of future Terrazzo and future La Campana. As part of the overall Santa Fe Park sketch plan area. A little bit of history of and timeline of this subdivision. Going back a little bit, germane to the conversation a bit ago regarding the Santa Fe crossing. Back in 2008, there was an MOU between the town and El Paso County regarding crossings on the Santa Fe Trail. La Campana Drive, which is to the south of our property, will cross Santa Fe Trail. I just want to point that out. There were 6 access points granted along the entire length. That's kind of running north to south, not for this property in particular, but the length of Old Denver Road. In July 2020, a preliminary PD site plan was approved permitting a mix of uses, industrial, business, commercial, on roughly 65 acres. Fast forward a little bit to February 2025, a sketch plan was approved, decreasing the number of individual development sites from 26 down to 9. I'll get more detail on that in just a moment. Also modified the stormwater design. In May 2025, the final plat was recorded for the 9-lot industrial commercial development. And currently in progress, completed by the master developer, are the roadways to our east, that's Terrazzo, to our south, La Campana, as well as the master infrastructure for the roadway drainage on the utilities that are being brought to the site. A little bit of the history. So the Santa Fe Park preliminary PD site plan was originally 26 lots. Our proposed site is lots 7 through 13. Permitted uses include a variety of things such as the commercial, civic use, recreation, office, light industrial, which within that is the warehouse, mini storage, multi-use, miscellaneous such as utilities, parking, transit, and a distribution center in those industrial targeted zones. I do want to point out on the multi-use, just for context of the approved preliminary PD plan, that the multi-use was a combination of commercial, office, light industrial, along with multifamily residential, not germane to this project, but was part of the overall PD site plan. As part of that, there were no use type square foot minimums or maximums, and there was one proposed water quality detention pond in the southwest corner, kind of labeled there in the cyan color of the detention pond. Most recently, as mentioned, that Santa Fe Park sketch plan revised the number of total units from 26 down to 9, essentially made the lots bigger. It remained at a zone PUD. Approved uses are civic, commercial, industrial, business, warehouse, and distribution. And it did revise the drainage intent, eliminated the overall larger water quality pond, and then what that did is the individual development sites are now responsible for their own on-site water quality and detention. And I'll show you that in just a moment. We do have an approved and recorded final plat. Ours Lot 2, hence the Lot 2 Terrazzo Baja commercial development. Total site is 10.3 acres, and that was recorded in May of this year. And now here's our site plan, our final PUD site plan, total 10.3 acres, again, zone PUD. Our proposed uses are industrial, office, warehouse, and retail use. We have a total building square foot of 125,500 through 6 total buildings. Buildings 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the same size at 22,000 square feet, all single story. Building 2 in the northeast corner is slightly smaller at 15,500 square feet, also single story. There is outdoor storage permitted for buildings 1 and 2. You can see kind of to the east and to the west of those buildings, and those will be screened as required with opaque screening and combination of landscape. Buildings 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 share kind of an internal dock loading space. That's where the big garage bay doors are. To the north of building 3 and 4 and to the south of 5 or 6 are where the storefront types are, and I'll show you some elevations of that in just a moment. So that loading, unloading is screened by the buildings for this project. We have parking provided as part of this site. We're designated up to 31,500 square feet for retail space. That could be things such as distilleries, coffee roaster, etc. Not a Qdoba or a Chipotle, but some of those more mixed use, you might see an industrial, that kind of borderline retail, but fit in a light industrial application. And the remaining parking for 94,000 square feet of the industrial office warehouse. We have a total of 194 parking stalls. For that, we're accounting for 105 to account for that retail space in the event that all 31,500 does get counted to a retail use. And we do have enough parking to accommodate the rest of the industrial site. And then as you can see in the southwest corner, we do have an on-site water quality and detention pond that captures all of this water on site, treats, and then releases it into the master stormwater system. A standards comparison chart from this final PUD to the approved PUD plan, the preliminary. So you can see across the top, the originally approved was commercial, civic, recreation, office, light industrial, multi-use, office, warehouse, distribution. This proposed final PUD has industrial, office, warehouse, and retail, so it's in line with those approved uses. The maximum building height as approved was 90 feet. Our proposed project are all single-story buildings at 28 feet 2 inches. The building setbacks along the Santa Fe Trail to our west is 25 feet, so we're meeting that. Terrazzo Drive and La Campana, those are the adjacent roadways. 20-foot building setbacks, we're meeting that. And then internal, we have a shared property line to our north. That's a 10-foot setback. As part of the lot coverage, we could go up to a 40% maximum lot coverage. We're proposing 28, so well under what was permitted. There is no maximum industrial floor space on this. Maximum retail space, there was none or not applicable to the original prelim PD plan, but in this case, we're maxing that out at 31,500. Building design required to have four-sided architecture with those storage areas screened. Again, we do have four-sided architecture, which I'll show in a moment, as well as the outdoor storage screened areas. And then finally, for the town's parking requirements, we do meet that for the combined uses of the retail, light industrial warehousing. Here's a kind of a typical elevations. The top is the side elevations. You can see it's a mix of metal cladding, decorative metal, mix of colors and textures. And then you can see the typical front elevation. That is the north of 3 and 4 and south of 5 and 6, if you remember what that looked like. That's just kind of that mixed storefront where you might have a business selling perhaps tile in the front, but the distribution is out of the rear. And then you can see what the interior loading area looks like. That is hidden between the buildings. Zoom in a little bit to the materials. It's all a metal building. It's a mix of kind of white siding, the middle of that ash gray that we changed orientation to get a different relief and some texture and some color on the front of the fronts and the sides of the buildings. The roof panel to the right, it looks a little white, but it's kind of it's a tannish color. It's kind of washed out in the image. I apologize for that. On the lower left, you see it's kind of a rough sawn cedar. It's that kind of faux cedar look, again, to give it some varied texture and color along the sides and the storefronts. And then you see that dark bronze, that it's like cladding for windows and some accent points. So again, to give us some varied texture, so it's not this gray or white or red industrial building. We wanted to provide some relief and some context to the neighborhood. Also going back to some of the PUD criteria of having that four-sided architecture. Here's a representation of building 2. This is looking internal to the site, north and east. Again, you can see the windows, kind of the cladding along the roof soffit there, the entryway, some of the textured of panels on the sides of the buildings with the landscape in front. The upper left picture is looking north from La Campana Drive. That's on the southern side of the site. Looking north into is where the storefronts would be and where we anticipate some of the retail space could be along that street. Again, with the landscape screening. And then the bottom right picture is looking into the site coming southbound from Terrazzo Drive into that access point. You can see some of the varied textures and colors to give that elevation some relief and I think some pleasing aesthetics to that. As we look at the final PUD plan review criteria, are we consistent with the prelim plan? We believe we are. The permitted uses design standards all align with what was approved with the prelim PUD. Adequate access and circulation. We do have 2 access points, one off Terrazzo to the east, the second off La Campana. Those are being built, or at least the stubs will be built by the master developer. We worked very closely with the fire department to make sure they could get their fire trucks in and through the site with adequate turnarounds, and they did approve the site plan. And we do have sidewalk connections coming from the public streets into the site to the storefronts. Functional parks, open space. No real requirement for open space as this is a commercial industrial site. We do have the buffering to the west along the Santa Fe Trail, and there are no natural features found on the site. Variety of development of housing types. The housing is not applicable, but mix of land uses. So we're encouraging with this a mix of industrial, office warehousing, and that potential retail component. The privacy of individuals and families, that's not applicable because there's no residential units proposed. As I discussed, the building architecture, I think, does meet the design standards. It does have 4-sided design with that varied colored palette. Landscape is xeriscape, mainly to the perimeter of the site for screening and that aesthetic along the fronts where we want that landscape, not internal to where the loading docks are. The parking does meet the off-street requirements for both the retail use and the industrial use. And this project fits with the surrounding land use pattern as it complements the existing industrial use to the east and conforms to the approved overall uses. And the roadway and utility infrastructure was pre-planned for this site, so we're kind of fitting right into what was the overall plan for this. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Ray, do you have something?
Yes, one moment, sorry. All right, I will try not to be repetitive as I feel the applicant went over a lot of detail. So as you can see, while we did notice for public hearing, met that requirement. As the applicant described, it's NES Inc. on behalf of Santa Fe Park JV LLC seeking approval of the final plan unit development for Lot 2 Terrazzo Baja. Included with your staff report were the final plan unit development site plan, a final drainage report, an updated full traffic generation analysis, and as well as your draft findings of fact. Further detail that was already discussed. Subject property to the north, we have the preliminary PUD for Connexus Phase 2 and 3. To the south is the Falcon Commerce Center PUD. To the east is Terrazzo Baja, further Terrazzo Baja commercial development, as well as Interstate 25. And to the west is partially vacant El Paso County property and Willow Springs Ranch residential subdivision. So the applicant already went through a lot of detail with the final PUD. The only thing that I believe we can further add some clarity on is that the applicant did provide that final drainage report for the project. The report was prepared by JR Engineering dated June 2025 and concluded that the stormwater drainage improvements will be adequate. Will provide adequate protection to the site without adverse impacts on the adjoining upstream and downstream properties and are in compliance with the final drainage report for the overall property. I actually have a typo in my draft report that states Connexus. My apologies. As well as the updated full traffic generation analysis for the project report prepared by SM Roca LLC.
If I can slip in there. So this is a case where we required an updated traffic impact report or analysis. And then there are set criteria for certain other parcels outside or other lots outside of this development today that are included in that analysis. So you'll see us come back with that same report for several projects. But there are other parts of this development that are not included in the analysis, and they will have to do another study for that. Same thing will go for stormwater analysis. We're going to, once we get out of the scope of the original study, we'll require a complete redo of those studies But in this case, this is the first project, and if it's within the scope and the analysis that conducted for both stormwater and for traffic impact. So just based on the previous conversation, I just wanted to put that out there right away. Okay, thank you.
And I'd also like to point out another typo in my report where I dated it 2024. It was 2025. My apologies. That's November 6, 2025. But moving forward, the proposed finding of fact. Number one, the proposed use meets the intent of the comprehensive plan designation for the property. The final plan unit development is consistent with the approved preliminary plan unit development. On-site circulation and access are designed for the anticipated type of pedestrian and vehicular traffic generated. Building design in terms of orientation, spacing, materials, exterior color and texture, storage and lighting result in quality architectural design and is compatible with the existing and anticipated area. The landscaping is a quality design that enhances the site and is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood as shown by amount, types, and materials used. Adequate off-street parking, both standard and ADA accessible, is provided. And finally, the final planned unit development fits within the context of the planned land use pattern and roadway and utility systems for the larger surrounding area. Staff's recommended action is a motion to make a recommendation to approve the final plan unit development for Lot 2 Terrazzo Baja Commercial Development located at the northwest corner of Terrazzo Drive and La Campana Drive, as supported by the attached finding of fact and described by documents included in your staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. This is a public hearing, and therefore we'd invite anyone in the room that would like to make any comments regarding this application to please raise your hand. And if you have some comments, please hold those comments to 3 minutes and state your name and sign in at the podium. Anyone would like to make a comment? How about online, Ray?
There's no one online. I wanted to see
online
it.
as well. All right, we'll close this, close the public hearing and move on to comments from the commissioners. Commissioner Green.
Dan, these reports you're going to be asking for, if we approve this tonight, do we need to add a condition saying, you know, based on your approval of these additional reports?
So yeah, let me clarify.
Okay.
The project that's before you today is covered by the reports that are listed in Ray's report. They contain the analysis for this project, and it just happens that they also are analysis assuming these other several projects are going to move forward. So I was just kind of forewarning that there might not be another report coming to you for those projects. This one's covered by this one. The site plan improvement agreement also calls out for those conditions that for future projects outside of the scope of these initial studies, a study will be required for those future projects outside of the scope. I've set it up through the site plan improvement agreement that they know that they will. It's all about expectations, right? We just set up the expectations that, that those future projects we are going to require a new analysis, again, to make sure that we're not having a negative impact on the intersection of Old Denver Road and Baptist, or Terrazzo and Baptist, or Old Denver Road. Thompson Thrift, the overseer of the subdivision, is aware of that. They've signed this site plan improvement agreement, and they know that they're aware once they're outside of that initial phase that they will be coming in with revised and updated traffic impact studies and stormwater studies. Sorry to be overwinded for the simple question. I just wanted to make sure I got it all out.
Good, it's good. I have one more question for you and two for the applicant. For the next one for you, they reduced their lot coverage from what was approved in their preliminary plan. That is now, if we vote for it, that is locked into the final. They cannot go back to the preliminary. If they've reduced lot coverage, that's it.
This is the final. That's correct.
So can't go above that. And for the applicant, a couple of questions. The first one is outdoor storage. What's going to be stored out there?
I'm not sure I can answer that.
Spec space.
It's spec space, correct.
Just a word to the commission. Do we want to put height limits or anything on what can go in that? Okay. Leave that for discussion.
We do have a 6-foot opaque fence and landscaping around that. That was part of the requirements that we worked through with the final PUD, and that also follows what was on the preliminary PED.
Right. And I think most of us know that. I think our question is always, you've got this, buffer and this 6-foot fence. Are you going to put I don't know, a 200-foot drill rig in your storage? Or are they, okay, and my only other question is this 31,000 square feet for retail. That you would have to come back for, well, maybe this is a Dan question. If that doesn't rent out, do you have to come back for an amendment before you can turn any of that into industrial or warehouse?
In concept, that's correct. I mean, we'll do an analysis to make sure that would,
Okay.
depending on what the use is, to see if it's a minor amendment to what was originally approved,
Okay.
or if it's a major amendment or for cause for us to take a look. Yes, we'll bring it back to you.
And then the list that a potential person going in is going to get, is that the list of retail uses in your zoning code for, say, downtown? Or is this a unique list of retail uses that's somewhere I haven't seen?
I don't like to refer to things you can't see, so it would be based on definitions in our current code. So it's retail uses that are in our list.
Still is retail?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all of my questions. Thanks.
Commissioner Trujillo, quick question for you. You mentioned the 6-foot fence and the occupants, the screening that you have on it. Is that you say 50%, 70%, 100%? What would you say that fence is going to be?
Per code, it has to be opaque. So I would make the, I guess, assumption that would be 100%
Okay.
opaque fencing.
Okay. And I just want to make sure that that's on the record, that it'll be 100%. So that way no one can see in, and it's not just a tree base or something like that where the pedestrians are walking through the area and they're like, hey, what is that over there type thing? The height, obviously, that's a concern. We'll talk about that here in a minute. To the south of you in this location, there's a warehouse, been vacant for quite a while. My question, I guess, to you, what are you looking at putting in there for employment and, commerce growth for Monument? What is the design of this, and what do you plan on putting inside there?
I can't give specifics because it's a spec build.
Sure.
I can say, based on talking to the potential developer, if they didn't think there was a market or a need for this based on what is existing in and around Town of Monument, I don't know that we'd be here today. So we're seeing a future need as this area grows, both from an industrial or a residential standpoint, as well as commercial standpoint, just the community growing in general. So it could be, I don't want to necessarily speculate, but it is a spec build. Certainly the size of the project lends toward that light industrial, small business type owner.
Okay.
Because it is 125,000 square feet, which seemed large, but that's over the course of 6 buildings. Not a city block for one, warehouse type facility, what you see just to the south.
That 125,000 square foot, is that going to be parceled out into different segmented small business facilities that allow for those individuals to come in and actually rent space for the community?
Correct. If we could go to the elevations, perhaps it shows a little bit what we're thinking, how this would get broken up. Yes. So you can see on the larger buildings, that's 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 7 potential spaces. Some of those may be combined, but we are anticipating multiple users and I'll say storefronts, but doorfronts along in all of the buildings.
Perfect. Thank you.
You had a question on height, perhaps? Okay.
Do we know if there's any current plan or uses for the north and the southern parcel? I think they're both showing vacant at the moment. Is that?
As far as I know, they're vacant, but they're part of the overall Santa Fe Park prelim PD plan.
I'm trying to remember the Carl Malone. The only other project that we're familiar with is a development that will be coming to you in the near future across the street. We don't have proposals for the where the pond used to be, or that's, I think there's always been a talk about retail use at that location, but they don't have any details for that. I don't have details, so it's not that it's premature to share it. I don't have any yet. And to the north, we don't have anything yet either.
Okay, thanks. So there's a phasing line shown on here. Is this all meant to be done back to back, basically?
Yeah, we put a phase line, primarily, we're not going to build out, anticipate all 125,000 at one time. So we can build essentially from Terrazzo Drive westward, internal, southward to La Campana. That gets our 2 points of access, our emergency access. That's also where the most utility mains run. So if we, and of course we build a detention pond in phase one. So if we need to phase it based on kind of marking conditions, we got some desire for the first half, not the second half, we can do that in a methodical, efficient way that doesn't impact off-sites or utilities and access through the site.
Thanks. Is La Campana, is that being built by the Metro District?
The master developer, Terrazzo Drive and La Campana Drive, both will be built. We're considering the off-site improvements because they have to be done in order for us to build.
Sounds good. I think that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Park?
Yeah, you said that, as I understood, you're not going to build all the buildings at once. Is that correct?
We could, but in the event we need to phase it just based on the takedown schedule, we wanted the opportunity to do that. And we wanted that reviewed based on access locations, drainage, utilities. If we get enough users, we can certainly build it in one shot. Because it's fairly small, 10 acres, 6 buildings. It could be built in one phase. We just wanted the ability to do two phases based on kind of the market conditions and the demand for it.
I guess where my question is if you say you build just building 1 and 2 to start with, how does the rest of the site look? Is all the paving installed, all your utilities and the curb in, the paving, and you just have those separate lots for the buildings, or?
So actually, that's a great question. Building 1 and 2 would be last.
Okay.
If anything, we'd build 4 and 6 first, because we need that kind of that L-shaped connection through the site, as well as that's where our utility mains run through. So 4 and 6 would most likely be built first, followed by 3 and 5, and then 1 and 2 would be last, because all the utilities and infrastructure has to go in to serve a single building. So that's where the logical sequence could happen, kind of that southeast and northwest condition.
Okay, so if you did then building 4 and 5, would all the paving be put in the curbs and all your utilities, and then you just have like an empty lot where the other buildings 1, 2, 3, and 5 are at, or?
Correct. We would build the necessary infrastructure to serve the intended phase. So for example, if 1 and 2 was 3 years down the road, that would grade it, have the erosion control, and reseed it per standards and requirements. That would essentially remain vacant until someone comes in and for that to be constructed.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Baumer?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Hatch?
I have nothing.
I do have a couple of questions. For lack of a better word, will La Campana Drive, will that cannibalize the western entrance into the Santa Fe Trail parking lot for the connection to Old Denver Road?
I can answer that. Actually, they're Thompson Thrift in their development of the La Campana Drive and Terrazzo, they're going to be improving the parking lot and expanding the parking lot to the north. Let me rephrase that. They're expanding an area for storage for the county to conduct maintenance work. So that you might see piles of gravel at that location seasonally and so on. So they're actually doing improvements for the county and the parking lot at that location. In addition to the other improvements that I described before, where they're doing concrete at the concrete trail on either side and a crosswalk over.
Okay, so when will that be done?
That's part of we're going to be doing a pre-construction meeting with them next week, and they'll start construction right away.
Okay.
And all those improvements have to go in before anything can happen on these lots.
Okay. And those improvements will include the crossing of the Santa Fe Trail as it exists today.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't have thought about it until I drove here tonight, but it's an awful dark area now. And so I'm just wondering, is lighting going to be a consideration at that point as well? Since that's an intersection on the Old Denver Road.
There's lighting in the subdivision. I don't believe there's any lighting proposed on Old Denver Road, but that's something I could take a closer look at as we're going through the public improvement agreements for this project.
Okay. All right. Yeah, to kind of piggyback what Commissioner Green and Trujillo mentioned, the parking in the northeast and the northwest section of the development in terms of what type will be there. You know, I guess I do have some concerns that there'll be large trailers, large vehicles parked there overnight. I'm not sure that's the image that we want to have there. So that's something we can talk about here in a moment. But one of the other questions I had was, you mentioned that there's 31,500 feet are dedicated or want to be dedicated for retail space. None of the buildings are 31,000 square feet. So I'm assuming that's going to be spread over 2 or 3, 4 buildings.
Correct. That would be the intent. And just for clarification, what we're proposing is up to 31,500 square feet. You know, retail's fickle, right? We may get 1 or 2 storefronts. We may fill up 31,500 square feet. What we intend to do with this is allow up to that, and max out of that. Why we max out of that? Primarily just potential market demand and parking. We did not want to cannibalize the parking for really the bulk of the site for the industrial office warehouse use. So that is an up to 31,500 square. It could be 10,000, could be 5,000, based on the unique user that would come here. Again, it's not a fast food place. It's not a drive-through smash burger. It's that, you know, I think I ride my bike along Santa Fe Trail and you see 300 days of sunshine, right? Like that type of potential where you need some light industrial type use in the back to serve the storefront in the front.
Are you designated any particular buildings, like building 5 and 6? Those be the most likely?
Reason seems most likely because that's what faces out and that faces the public. You know, could it be 3 and 4? Certainly, but you know, most retail would want some visibility to the street. So to say it's going to be all 5 and 6 is really impossible to say, but that would most likely, just based on where retail and storefronts like to go with signage, would be located. Access to La Campana, the front door, easy access from a trail as well, if from pedestrian. We just talked earlier about, you know, new residents coming to this, trail connection, sidewalk connection, so potentially could have some pedestrian activity to this.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions right now, but I do think that we should have a discussion on storage and height restrictions. So I listen to.
Well, if it's a, you know, I think it's naive to require them to store things under 6 feet.
Right.
But, you know, I would consider maybe 20. We'll get a, you know, large truck in there without things, like I said, trucks with drills on them, or I don't know, things that stick up and look maybe obnoxious to the residents that are across the way. I don't know. I'm not a real good height person, but that just.
The standard bay door on the back of the building for the semis, I'm assuming it's 14 to 16 feet. Is that correct? A standard trailer is going to be 13 and a half foot tall due to DOT, but 14?
14
Okay.
feet.
Yeah, I would say 14 would be the max. That would allow for, yeah, because that would allow for 13 and a half on a standard semi for storage. But I think anything, you know, would be anything that would prevent that individual crane or aspect piece that would be unsightly in relation to the actual that area.
Sure. I have perhaps a question for staff. You know, this is an light industrial use zone. It's been like that for several years, going back to the prelim PD plan, the sketch plan. So with those uses of industrial light warehouse and others around town, does code limit height restriction with the understanding that with industrial comes, I would think, some level of expectation of an outdoor storage component?
I think that would be the case if this were straight zoning, but it's not. It's a plan unit development, so I think that the community has been, the expectations have been set in one way and been performed another way, so I can understand why that they're looking at setting some standard for how tall something might be in a storage area. So I don't think that's out of the realm of plan unit development.
Sure, understood. Ray, can we go to perhaps the aerial, maybe slide number 2 or 3 on mine, please?
We actually did this on a case not long ago, put height limits on the outdoor storage. And I think it's because, we spend a lot of time selling the industrial zone or as industrial PUD to the public, saying, but it's different, it's clean, it's not ugly, it's not dirty. And for us to sell it based on it's in a PUD, so we can make sure it looks good and then allow giant trucks to be parked everywhere is not exactly what I want to be doing.
Sure, I understand. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to bring this aerial up is look at kind of context. Lot 2 is internal to the site and really surrounded by all theoretically, or at least approved, industrial office warehouse type uses. So it would be surrounded, at least to the eastern side, by a like and similar use. So what are we screening from? Potential another industrial user. I understand your point, but I think context is important here. To the west, we have Santa Fe Trail, we have our 6-foot front, we have landscaping. Does that screen 100%? No, we'll do our best, at least from a landscape standpoint, right? Quite a few evergreen trees up on that. Then there's quite a bit of swath of land between the Santa Fe Trail and the actual roadway. And then further to the west, it's vacant land right now. I can't speculate what is or will not go there. I'm not sure what the future land use plan goes on there. And then you've got Monument Creek and then houses to the far west. So I think while looking at height restrictions is important, also looking at context and what is planned for the area, I think also is important when we're discussing putting potential limits on what may or may not be from an outdoor storage standpoint.
The future land use plans say for the property directly west.
We're working on it. I guess maybe the question's more for them to what limitation would they be comfortable with, and then that might give you something to start with. I mean, the building height is so many feet. We've just had as a community, we have had something put back there that's been stuck up in the air with a flag on it telling everyone it's there from all distances. And I know that nobody intends to do something like that, but I think that they're looking just for I'm speaking for you guys. That's not appropriate. They're looking for something that would establish a standard or a limitation so that they can explain it or put that in their recommendation and be able to stand behind it.
Great. My name is Andrew Biggs, developer here, owner, representative. So I think it's important also to look at the site plan itself and what we're proposing, and a lot of thought went into how these buildings were placed on the site, even though it's only 6 buildings. But a lot of thought went into, in the event that a retail user was on the parcel directly to the south, that we fronted that. And again, you can see we've not put a lot of we did just slap up some industrial type of building. These really are designed to attract and keep these smaller business type of users. And in fact, a lot of times the space is referred to as incubator space. So 2,800 square foot plus really goes to like incubate and help out small business starting up. As far as height limits on the outdoor storage, completely understand. And I think there's a number of ways that we can not only look at how we may limit height of what is being stored, but also look at other screening options. I think the 6-foot fence that we have there, although sufficient, I understand maybe there's ways to get creative there as well, such as putting it on a berm or something along those lines. So as a representative here and as the owner, I just want you guys to hear from me personally that I'm open to suggestions, open to hear your guys' thoughts, and we're incentivized to make this look as good as possible. While we're in this as a community member, my office is across the street. I live in Black Forest. We own a number of properties. We've developed Wagons West here. So we've been involved in the community a lot, and we're incentivized both from a business and a neighbor perspective to have this be a nice place. And then to answer your question, just with some of the other industrial product that is around, I think you can see with the smaller product that we're trying to capitalize on the small business aspect where those guys are pushing away a lot of smaller users, trying to get a corporate single tenant user or whatever it may be, and that's not our goal here. So I'm open to suggestions on height limit. I also want to be realistic and not being punitive to the project, but certainly something along the lines of something. Even considering maybe height of the building, maybe a little bit just to help out and maintain as flexible as we can, but also knowing and hearing from me that, we're incentivized to not have this look like a full on storage yard.
Andrew, what is the height of the building?
28 feet 2 inches, I believe, maybe 3 inches.
On the max.
That's the max. It's all buildings are the same height.
Sure.
What's the max allowed building height? Do we?
Per the approved preliminary PD site plan, 90 feet. So we're way under that.
I just saw on average, it's about 35 feet for light industrial. So setting it at the roof line is practical. If average, it's below average.
You wouldn't be storing anything any taller in a building anyway, would you?
No, sir. I'm just trying to maintain our flexibility.
No,
Also
I'm
understanding.
just trying.
Yes,
Trying to help you out if this was where I'm going with this. If you stored anything, it'd be between the buildings where the loading docks are.
right.
So
And
it's-
and I think we're mainly talking about the outdoor storage component. In between buildings will need to be kept clear for pathways, and we specifically designed that extra wide to be able to allow for better truck access. But for the sake of storage, I think we're only talking about the outdoor storage and the designated storage on the two buildings to the north.
I would still maybe go back and throw out 20 feet. I'm saying that because once you're selling these as a spec space, the third owner down the line, they're not necessarily going to be saying, I'm building this to be nice. They're selling it for their business. And an example might be the shopping center down the street from us, where the other day I drove by and suddenly it's full of U-Haul trucks. Full of U-Haul trucks. And I went back and looked at the zoning ordinance and I thought, how'd they do that? There's nothing that stops them. You can put rental cars in those parking lots. But, when that thing was built 30 years ago, nobody thought of that. So this is our time to think about what could happen 10 years from now. And I think with a 6-foot barrier, I think 20, you're still going to get some pretty tall stuff in there. It's taller than a semi truck.
Yeah, I think my personal opinion, 20 feet is pretty generous. I mean, a full-size RV is 12, 13 feet tall, and so really, I think, but it's not necessarily the vehicle that I'm concerned about. It's storage of materials, and what would they be storing back there?
Lumber?
Could be anything, lumber, could be bags of sand or whatever. And so how high do we want that storage to be as well? That's part of it. The vehicles are going to be limited by what they are, but it's really what else is going to be stored back there?
tall is a grain silo for a brewery?
Oh, wow.
Depends on the beer.
Big question.
I do feel like that's a good example. I mean, we can speculate here all we want, and I hear you loud and clear on wanting to make sure not only for for as long as I manage the property or in the project, but for further down the line. So I just ask that you maintain that in mind, where that it could be beneficial to everybody involved to have something like a silo or something along those lines that could potentially be harmful for the project, but in the essence of trying to protect. So
I think on top of that, and keep in mind, look at the site plan. The outdoor storage areas really, they're not that big, relatively speaking, to some of the traditional outdoor storage yards you see, where they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 acres of pure outdoor storage. We're talking of a couple thousand to a few thousand square feet, really as an auxiliary use of these buildings. They're the only 2 buildings that would permit this. And look at building 2. Some of those outdoor storage areas are pretty small. Maybe it's a countertop or a countertop manufacturer. He has box trucks. Those box trucks are, I don't know exact height of those, but they can get kind of tall. And is that necessarily unsightly? I don't know. It depends on who you ask. But I think those, we're playing a big what if game of what could go in here. And to Andrew's point, we understand some of the concerns about what may be there, but also to really limit what we're trying to accomplish here with the sex of the building, the users. This is definitely a nicer facility than some of the other aging and industrial warehouse sites that we see throughout El Paso County.
I have a question or a comment, if I may. I just want to clarify that you said buildings 1 and 2.
Yep.
Going to be allowed for outdoor storage.
Yep.
That is screened.
Correct. Yeah,
As
correct.
such, that storage area is going to be for building 2 to the east and building 1 to the west, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And according to our code, like anything screening trees, is that what you have built in here behind buildings 1 and 2? For every 25 linear feet of property line where screening is required, which you're saying screened storage, that an evergreen tree meeting the standards shall be planted and maintained. So do you have screening trees behind these?
Correct. So it
Okay.
gets it's hard to see, but yes. So along the Terrazzo Drive, it's kind of greenish. So that green stretch between Terrazzo Drive and the white behind building 2, that is all landscaping, a combination of trees and shrubs. West of that, building 1, all that screening occurs outside of the fence. So it's not, doesn't do us anything but interior of the fence. So it's all outside of the fence. And you can see some of the larger, it's getting a little washed out on this particular screen here, but you can see some trees and larger shrubs on the outside, outward facing for that vertical screening element. Sure, the fence is 6 foot, but ultimately these trees are going to get 18, 20, 24 foot tall.
And would that mitigate some of your concerns, I guess?
Trees?
With the storage height?
I still think 20 feet is a good height limitation for storage in this area. But Alex made a motion.
Andy, how do you feel about 20 feet?
I would be willing to agree to 20 feet.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Good with that? All right. We'll entertain a motion with the condition of storage no taller than 20 feet. I'll entertain a motion.
Outside storage.
Outside storage.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve with conditions. A motion to approve the final plan unit development for Lot 2 Terrazzo Baja Commercial Subdivision located at northwest corner of Terrazzo Drive and La Campana Drive, as supported by the attached finding of fact with the following condition: that there be a 20-foot storage limitation for external storage behind buildings 1 and 2.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Ray, please take. Oh,
Thank you. Chair Egley,
yes.
Vice Chair Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch,
Yes.
Commissioner Parr,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Baumer. Thank you. Motion passes 7 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, they were kind of fuzzy. Sorry about that delay there. So now we have any non-agenda public items, reports, communications and announcements, anything from staff?
Two things. First of all, tonight, I appreciated the conversation about traffic and traffic studies and so on. And I wanted to ask you, would you be interested if I were to bring in our town engineer and their traffic specialist or traffic engineer to actually come in and walk you through how that analysis is provided, what what information is put into that? I'm seeing nods. So I mean, rather because I know we're due for a training anyway, but based on the conversation tonight, I think it would be worth questioning our town engineer, who we are now fortunate to have, what the process is and what they're looking at in a report and how those reports are generated. So that sounds good. Sounds good. So I won't do that on the December meeting. I'll give you all a break. The second announcement is is actually going to be a light meeting. If anything, it's just about reappointments for next year, a new zoning map, and maybe some cheer. Commissioner Green walked out. Hopefully she's going to come back. Okay. But this is going to be Danny Hour's last meeting on December, so I'd like to kind of tip a glass and thank him for all of his hard work and evenings in this commission. So hopefully now I can let Commissioner Green jump in, but I would like to be able to use that evening as after a short meeting with here. I'd like to adjourn and kind of celebrate Danny Hour's contribution to the community. Kathy, I didn't give anything else up other than that. So
I offered to have a reception for Danny at my house after the meeting. If anybody would be interested.
Yes.
Get it out of the building.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
okay, so that would be the end of my comments. Is that we would have a quick meeting. Dolphins, probably just a presentation from Connie on our new zoning map, and then we split and go celebrate at Commissioner Green's house afterwards.
And I live just a few blocks from here.
All right.
So.
Thank you, Dan. Any comments from commissioners? Announcements?
That will also be my last meeting.
I didn't share that. Huh? Commissioner Green's gonna be stepping down as well at the end of the year. So with that, if you know anybody who's interested in joining the Plan Commission, please send them our way. Our alternate will get to step up if she will have us and become a full-blown commissioner. Maybe we'll see. We talk, and then we'll still be short, and then we'll need 2 alternates as well. So. If you know anybody who's interested in joining in, we have a lot of fun work this year. A lot of the stuff that we get wound up about during certain specific cases that we wish we could have done something different. This is the time to do it. The comprehensive plan process is where you get to make those changes. We're also going to be, as a commission and staff, we're going to be redoing Chapter 18, our land development code. So we're going to be looking at the things that we've learned since the last time we redid it, and updating the development code too. So this will be a fun year, 2026.
All right, thank you. Anything else from any other commissioners? I had one thing. I know it's a day late, but I did want to express my personal thanks to all the veterans that we have that serve on this commission, and both veterans and spouses. It's a large commitment, both that you made individually and the spouses make as well. And I just thought that I just wanted to express my personal thanks.
Here, here.
One involved. I know that Danny is also a veteran, and Commissioner Trujillo, I know that and you're a veteran, and I know that you're a spouse. And so just as important, trust me. And so I just
A
want to say thank
stylist?
you.
What did you say? Spouse.
All right, with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Meeting is adjourned.